against Czechoslovakia, quite a bit of history, quite a bit of football, a bit of culture, some odd moments. Last time I was here, of course, I was talking about Italian football, and so I brought some matches with me today, actually. Anyone got any blue tack, actually? I was just interested in a bit of match fixing. Anyway, probably not as interested in that, because obviously this is a very legal assumption, you know, it's not like a great Gatsby, sort of prohibition, is it? And speaking of which, we'll be, of course, having a drinks interlude after about 15-20 minutes, which is what I'm sure you're all looking forward to already now. Not to worry about. Okay, so, Czech Republic. When I was 6 years old, I actually won a spelling competition at probably, let's say, the only school in Burnley, but there were other schools. And the word I spelt was Czechoslovakia, which was a tie-breaking spelling. And subsequently, the teacher, during the next academic years, I mean, they're 6 years old, what's an academic year? 6. I mean, during the next year, I've permanently been, actually, what we're doing, having to spell Czechoslovakia at the age of 6. But I was permanently being told, Paul, get up here, write Czechoslovakia on the blackboard. Or whiteboard, blackboard. And so I used to go up, and the problem is I used to write in big letters in those days. So I used C, Z, I shouldn't do it. So you can spell Czechoslovakia, C, Z, E, C, H, O, S, L, O, V, A, K, I, A. Correct? Okay, so I used to write in big letters, and because how big, I always used to get to like Czechoslovak, and then put IA underneath. And so, hence I got interested in poetry as well, and things like that, you know, because of this obviously the line breaks and everything else, so on and so forth, and the rest is history. But other than that, I was lucky enough to spend quite a lot of time at the Faculty of Sport and Physical Education at Charles University on a kind of educational liaison kind of thing about 20 odd years ago and frozen to death. And I was also involved in setting up a kind of international conference there on sport, the art of movement, which, sport, the art of life, which subsequently has become movement, the art of life, but also various ideological shifts. But I actually did the first address at this conference, 9 AM, and I was actually living in Ljubljana at the time, it's a long story. I was living in Ljubljana at the time, and so I had to go by night train to Prague, which was a great trip. So I set off from Ljubljana to Vienna, changed at Vienna about midnight, arrived in Prague about 4 AM, and I was speaking at 9 AM. I was frantically trying to write this talk on the train. The talk was called Sport, a Near Life Experience, which is of course a quote from the film Fight Club. And it reminded me actually of a great Czech athlete, a runner, Emil Zatopek, who you might remember from the 1952 Olympics, gold in 5,000, gold in 10,000. He wasn't actually going to run the marathon, but he decided I'm going to run the marathon as well. And I think was it Jim Peters who was a great marathon runner. And this is quite an amazing achievement. And Zatopek is a real kind of obviously hero now, but his life has gone sort of up and down, you know, in and out. All because Czech history is very complicated for all sorts of reasons, which I'll be talking about over the next sort of 20-30 minutes or so. And but Zatopek had these great sort of sayings. He said, if you can't keep going, go faster. Today, we're going to die a little. And it's all that sense in which, and it's almost like reminds me sometimes of things like football fandom. It's because every time I say to somebody who's going on Bradford City and I say, oh, enjoy, he says, what's the last thing I'm going to do? And this is when I think of Zatopek. Because in a way, when you go to a football match, you're thinking, today I'm going to die a little. Because that's the way that sport is at this particular level, and the engagement with the activity. You sort of go into a space beyond, almost into a kind of, okay, I'm going to sound very philosophical, but there are philosophers, there are parents of philosophers in the room, and the living dead. And but sometimes it does feel like that when you're on going to watch football matches. So anyway, oh yeah, there he is. That's the book. Olympic legend, Cold War hero. So yeah, Margaret, cheers. Oh yeah, sorry, forgot to introduce you to Margaret. She's at the Bullseye HQ at Stockton Park, and she's checking for infringements, checking for any serious foul play as I'm speaking. So she will no doubt pull me up. You know, if anything I do is wrong. Oh yeah, this is underpass near the National Museum in Prague. Some photo I took of the Zatopek graffiti in the past. Okay, so let's know a little bit about the history, maybe, of the Czech Republic. Of course, Czech Republic was mostly, well, for a long time, was part of the Habsburg monarchy, and then subsequently the Austro-Hungarian Empire, when the Austro-Hungarian Empire came into existence in 1867. And but going back to the days of the Habsburg times, it was called the Kingdom of Bohemia. So hence, you know, the whole Bohemian stuff and Queen, etc., etc. What was it now? They changed the name to King. What's that great King track? That was a great track, that King, isn't it? Oh, you know the band King?
Pride.
Love and Pride. It's like dancing somewhere. And yeah, so this is the Austro-Hungarian Empire. You can see stretches down to places like Trieste, which is now in Italy. Large parts of you know, sort of Yugoslavia, sort of, etc. And even stretching into a bit of Ukraine, and so on and so forth. So it was a real, I mean, it's no use term, it's melting pot, it's no use term, but it was a real kind of chaotic mix of language, culture, religion, history, and so on and so forth. And there's something interesting about this, because in 1618, in Prague, loads of people were thrown out of windows. Now, you're going to think, well, what's this got to... It's actually what we call the defenestrations of Prague. And you can look them up. And and the defenestrations of Prague are because there's lots of religious conflict at that time, because you've got the Protestant Reformation in the 16th century, and you've got... here we are. And this is images of them. These are Catholics being thrown out of windows. Catholic emissaries, envoys, whatever, in Prague Castle. And it actually was the first time the word defenestrate was used in the English language, was as a result of these events which happened historically. And so subsequently after this, you had the 30 Years' War, which began in 1620, which went on for 30 years. And this obviously caused a massive, but also a kind of what we call a counter-reformation. Now, if you think that Czech history is nothing to do with this area, well, you go to Belden and look at the Moravian Church, or Moravian Church. You go to Horton and look at the Moravian Church. Now, these people were actually people who were outlawed when the Catholics kind of came back into sort of power, if you like, in the 17th century in the Czech Republic. The Moravian Church was kind of sent into exile, executed. Everybody had to become a Catholic again. And the Moravian Church is interesting also because John Wesley, I think, John, is there a plaque up in Belden? Where's that? It's just near the...
It's by the antique shop, on top of Belgium there.
Near where that chemist is? Yeah. So just at the top right, you'll see a plaque, because Wesley was really into... he called them the Germans, actually, but they were the Moravians. And they were sent almost into exile, or sort of scattered around. There we go, there's that Belden. There it is, up in Belden. Also one, I think, of the one in, there's the one in Horton. So this is Moravia. So if we go back to the map of the Czech Republic, I'll just show you where Moravia sort of is. Second. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Moravia is sort of this area here. There we go. Yeah, Brno is the main, so it's in the east, Brno, Olomouc. These are sort of main cities of Moravia. Silesia is this sort of mining belt really around Ostrava. Bohemia is over here. And so Bohemia is the western part of the Czech Republic. Now, if you want to kind of, so this is basically, so for 300 years basically, the Czechs' identity was really being swallowed up. The language almost disappeared. The language only survived because of puppets. because there's a loophole, legal loophole, that the only way you could speak Czech was through a puppet, like a ventriloquist. So, literally, so, and so, okay, who's your favourite ventriloquist then? Go on, just anybody. Keith Harris, good answer. Definitely, Mr. Babbage, Keith Harris. Okay, 62. I don't know, maybe, whatever. So, and so the language survived in a way. When, okay, the Czech national brand started in the 19th century. The whole sense in which the Czech culture began to be re-established again in that time. But so what I'm saying is that the history of these countries is incredibly turbulent in Central Europe. It's massive, full of exile. It's full of suddenly, everything going on. 30 years wars, 300 years of absolute kind of chaos. And of course, the Austro-Hungarian Empire came to an end in 1918 after the First World War. And then Czechoslovakia first became a country. The first Republic of Czechoslovakia was in 1918. So that's some brief sketch of history. Right, let's talk about football. So, origins of Czech football. 1892, you've got Slavia Prague. 1893, you've got Sparta Prague. This is the famous rivalry in Czech football, is of course the Slavia-Sparta derby. I think Ryan may have been on 1 or 2 in the past. And it is really, isn't it? It's the marquee kind of derby, would you say, in Czech football? Yeah, definitely, more than anything else. And I noticed you wearing a Duke of Prague t-shirt.
I was, but
Oh, you?
he's threatened me with it.
All right. Because you might, those of you who are attracted to this talk by sort of, attractive sounding titles, don't be deceived. Because of course there's a famous song by Half Man Half Biscuit called All I Want for Christmas is a Duke of Prague away shirt. It was released in 1986, the band I think are from the Wirral, Birkenhead, sort of way, Merseyside, and it was a B-side to a song called Trumpton Riot, I think. Now, this particular song has become a real cult song. Now, you're more likely to see more Duke of Prague shirts in Bradford than you are in Prague. And I'll tell you why, because Duke of Prague was seen as the team of the regime, the team of communism after the Second World War. And Duke of Prague actually weren't founded until 1948. They were founded as the Army Club because they were originally the Army Club. And a bit like Dynamo Dresden, Dynamo Berlin situation in Germany, all the best players for other teams in the Czech Republic had to play for the Dukla. And eventually Dukla became Duke of Prague in 1956. And in 1956, the club was renamed after a famous battle of the Dukla Pass in the Second World War, which happened in 1944 on the Soviet German front of the conflict. Oh yeah, there we go, All I Want for Christmas. Of course, Sabutio is mentioned in this song. It's about a lad who goes around somebody's house and he's trying to play scale electric. Transformer's not working, transformer's not working, transformer's not working. So he goes upstairs up to the attic, his mum goes and pulls down his Sabutio kits. And he's got a posh, but he's got a Duke of Prague away, Sabutio said, whereas this bloke turned up with his headless centre forward and his no-armed goalkeeper. And so he's having to suddenly play Duke of Prague away. And the song is a bit like this kind of tale of childhood and so on and so forth. But it became a real cult kind of phenomenon. Now, of course, there's all sorts of other gifts. Just actually, if you want gifts for Christmas, Margaret, really give Christmas goddess. No, that's the album, that's the song. There's your way kit. There's your merch stall at Dupla, good merch stall. There's Dupla Stadium inside. You've got somewhere to ground with a running track. Yeah, that's it. Anything else? Nothing else. Oh, socks. Dupla socks. Anybody interested? Dupla, these, believe it or not, badges, but earrings. So, but there we are, and there we go. And, I really wanted to get these Duke of balloons in today, but I couldn't get it past the management. Well, I was desperate, Some things you can ask, or at least you can ask. Now, Dupla, the bizarre thing about Dupla, they're a communist club sort of formed after the Second World War, but they actually went out of business in 1996 because they were so associated with communism that nobody wanted to touch them. And they actually went out of business. They actually became merged with a team near Pilsen called Prigram. And so Dukla actually disappeared. So the Dukla Prague that exists now, it does exist now, it's in the second division of Czech League, it's actually what you call a Phoenix Club. So Dukla now is a Phoenix Club as opposed to an establishment club. But it maintains, it's the only club which theoretically maintains all the traditions of the previous Dukla. It's not trying to dissociate itself from it. It actually maintains tradition, but the legal inheritors of Dukla Prague are actually a team that's currently playing in Prigram. They were called Prigram, I think, in the Bohemian League, maybe second or third division. So this is Dukla. Any remarks, Margaret, at this stage? No, okay. Well, I didn't know whether I've done anything wrong, you know. So yes, that's alright. So things are going fairly smoothly. So there's the half man half biscuit single all over Christmas is Dukla Prague away kit. Now, if we go back to the origins actually of Czech football, if we rewind a little bit then to the end of the 19th century when football sort of began, there was an area of Prague which is called Letna, where Sparta Prague are currently playing. But up at that location was Sparta, Slavia, DFC Prague, and definitely those three. And all in the same place. So Slavia, who are now way over the other side of a river, in Vershivica, actually started their life up in Letna, literally as the neighbours of Sparta. So hence you can see probably where the rivalry sort of stems from, in a sense because it actually began. Have we got the map of Letna? Not in maps, it's the plan. I'll show you the... But and all these... actually DFC Prague are an interesting team as well, because DFC Prague, who were founded, again, at the end of the 19th century, were actually a German Jewish team who actually played in the first German league, the first Bundesliga, if you like, in 1900. Because in those days, in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, teams that had similar ethnic backgrounds, national backgrounds, could play in a league not based where they are. So you look at the first German Football League results, and you've got things like Frankfurt, you've got things like Karlsruhe, and you've got DFC Prague in the German league, which again is the kind of interest. Here's DFC Prague. History of German footballers, here they are. History of German footballers in Prague. There's the old ground. This is up at Letna. Obviously the artistic impression of it, where it was initially. And there's Deutsche Football Club Prague. And this again is because of the nature of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Now when Germany joined FIFA in 1904, DFC Prague would no longer play in the German league. Before that though, DFC Prague actually got to the first ever German Cup final. And they actually went through the semi-final against Karlsruhe, but they went through really dodgy circumstances. Actually get the matches out of there. Sorry, got the blue tack, please. Hang on. You just got the blue tack, Rose? Just need a break. Hang on, I'll have to search for the magnets in a minute. Here we go. There you go. Match fixing. Looks alright. I think, just to let you know, I think this one ends up 1-1. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. I knew it was here somewhere. Yeah, this is a map. And Sparta is still there. I really need this Andy Grace. Oh, well, not Andy Grace, now he's banned with him. The other guy, Gary Carragher, Jamie Neville. There's Sparta, it's still there. This here is a massive horse racing circuit. Yeah, it's massive. Here you see there's Slavia, and here's DFC Prague. Now, DFC Prague's history, of course, obviously when the Germans, when Nazi Germany sort of was on the march, DFC Prague, the German Jewish club, of course, was disbanded in 1938. Players went into exile, executed, concentration camps, etc., etc. But there's currently another DFC Prague, which is now again is like a Phoenix club, which has reformed again in the Czech Republic, in Prague, in 2016. The German influence is not to be understated in Czech culture. I mean, Czechs tend to hate the Germans now for good reason, and also hate the Russians for good reason. But because of the history of the language, the empire, Franz Kafka wrote in German, but he's considered Czech. You know, but German was the language of universities, it was language, because the Czech language was being kind of driven underground, possibly could have gone out, you know, disappeared altogether. So that's the, but then Slavia subsequently moved. Slavia were there until the Second World War. Slavia were there, but you won't find them there now. What's there now, Margaret? Just a big field. Yeah. Oh, it's a big field, it's interesting all times actually. Oh, it's all right. Okay, let's have a beer break. 5 minutes, please. Aston Villa, actually, Mlada Boleslav were originally called Aston Villa Mlada Boleslav when they were founded in 1919. Can you believe that? We've got some pictures. There's the Skoda factory. Look at this. Hey. There's Skoda, yeah, there we go. There's Keith's car. Hang on, let's see Keith's car. And there it is. It's that one there. Somebody just letting the tyres down. Okay, move on slightly, yes. Next image. Alright, here we go. Yeah, there we go. SK, this is official. Is that it does look like old. This is SK Aston Villa. We're actually based in a place called Norcross. Because we're a load of Aston Villa enthusiasts apparently hanging around building Keith's car, maybe. I don't even know if that's resulted then. But is any other model? Oh, there we are. SK Aston Villa in 1926. And there's a badge which is available. I can sell it you for £7. I've got it in the back of my Skoda. Okay, so that's, and also another curiosity. I see Joe's doing. This is kind of off-piste filming. Another curiosity we have as well is, of course, the Bohemians badge, which has a kangaroo on it. And yeah, they really think, well, okay, I've lived in Prague. I was 2 years in Prague during, recently, and but you're thinking, well, kangaroos, you don't see that many, even during lockdown, when wildlife was booming, you still don't see them. I saw all sorts of things I've not seen for years, but not a kangaroo. And of course, the reason they have a kangaroo, on the badge is because in 1927 they went on a tour of Australia. They went on a boat, they stopped off at Ceylon on the way, played against the British Services 11. Ceylon, of course, now Sri Lanka. Played a British Services 11 on the way down there. And it was a, first sort of European team to do a tour of Australia. And the Australians, out of gratitude, gave Bohemians 2 live kangaroos to take back with them. Which were obviously quite lively on the boat. I mean, on the way back. And they subsequently donated to Prague Zoo, and so hence the obviously great Bohemians fans. Look at this, all Mondays are bastards. Although I have to say, apart from Steely Dan Mondays. And so yeah, this is the Dolicek Stadium, which again Ryan, you've probably been on a few times. And this is some of their sort of fan stuff, which is so that's the kind of Bohemians tour. In the 20s, actually, it really was the roaring 20s for football as well, because there was also the American Soccer League, which is long forgotten from history, where you had loads of Scots going over to work in booming USA in the north, east of the country. And so teams like Bethlehem Steel, teams like Riverfall Marksmen. This is a different league. This is the 60s. But yeah. So.
Get your feet off, mate.
Sorry. Hang on. I better not mention this. But all I want to say about that is because.
I want that redacted.
Okay. I've been shown a straight red. It's a Sparta Prague went by boat. Sparta. Okay. All the American stuff. But actually, I'm going to say one thing about it. Dupla Prague in America. This has to be relevant to Czech talk. Dupla Prague in America. Here we go. This is not Dupla Prague. This is a team from Poland. But as you can see, they're wearing typical traditional Polish dress, the Stetson, and they just won the American Challenge Cup in the 60s, which was. It was set up as it was set up as a kind of almost wanted to be what now we call a kind of World Club Cup, okay, Intercontinental Cup and so on. But this is a book called Dukla Among the Skyscrapers, and we've got a picture here somewhere of Dukla. There we are, Dukla Prague in America. Now Dukla were massive in the 60s, and I'm going to consult my very learned friends who seem to. Be incredibly good when it comes to answering quiz questions, and I'm going to ask Dave a one-off question soon. Dave,
Yeah.
have Dukla Prague ever played Tottenham Hotspur?
Pass.
Yeah, I believe European Cup round probably 63.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think it was the quarter final.
There you go. That's why we win the quiz every week, every month. There you go. And so I'm going to show you a few things. Actually, we've got a wonderful video of Dukla and Ajax. This is sorry, that's Dukla in America from the 60s anyway. And it actually saw West Ham were in Dukla were playing West Ham, we were playing Burnley. But you might think, well, who are Burnley? But in 1960 and 61, Burnley actually had a decent side. Jimmy McElroy, Jimmy Robson, Ray Pointer. You know, it was actually pretty. I won the league, of course. Thank you. Who? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go. Okay. So. Jimmy, thank you. Was Brian Miller? Is it before Brian Miller's day?
No.
No, Brian Miller. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Now this is Dukla who won this American tournament, as you can see, 3-4 years in a row. And Dukla was so good, but all the teams who came over, like West Ham, Everton, to play in this league, they just had to play each other in like leagues of 5 each. And Dukla would play whoever won that in the final, because Dukla would knock everybody off the pitch. And a famous player was Joseph Masopust, who won the Ballon d'Or in 1962, when Czechoslovakia finished runners-up in the World Cup, being beaten by Brazil 3-1 in, I think, Chile, Dave? 1962 World Cup?
62, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, yeah, okay, Dave, different Daves. Okay, everyone's called Dave. And so if this is a problem, we say Dave. Everybody's immediately answers. There's Joseph Masopust outside Dukla Stadium, maybe hopefully not treading on the toes of Statue Man. And there's his foot, which they didn't amputate for that purpose, but there it is. There he is. Yeah, I think that's when he won the the balloon, whatever. So yeah, so let's move on to sort of this little video, because I just, we've got a little bit of time. Yeah, we're all right for a few minutes. We've got, this is a little video of, here we go, yeah, let's have a look at this. Better sound on it, I think. This is Ajax in 1967 coming to Prague to play Dukla.
Přiletěli na 1000, obsadili hotely, zmocnili se ulic a svérázným způsobem se snažili přesvědčit Pražany, že jejich fotbaloví miláčci Duklu rozdrtí. Úkový i krojový nápad, jenom ojediněle se příznivci Dukly zmohli na protiofenzivu. Psychologický nátlak Holanďanů pokračoval i na celkom zaplněné Juliske. Asimky 20 000 divákov a svaly stoviek vlajkonošov si prišli na svoje. A na ihrisku sa zatiaľ odohrávala futbalová dráma. 0-0 až do 65. minúty, keď sa Ajax ujal vedenia. Dukla musela všetko vsadiť na útok a potom prišla 73. minúta. Nedorostá zrazil pokutovou po zemi Holanďan Prong. Závod nemecký rozhodca Čenšer nariadil pokutový kop a Štrúc ranou podprvno vyrovnal. Vtedy sa vyjazdníci Ajaxu poprvý raz dostali do úzkých a povzbudení Pražania na chvíľu opanovali hladište a ihrisko.
Yeah, so that's, this was a famous Dukla Prague Cup run in '67, which of course I'm going to ask a random Dave. First Dave to answer, I'll buy them half a shandy. I thought half a packet, so I've only let it in. So, okay, who won the European Cup in 1967?
Good drill.
Thank you, yeah. There you go, knowledge. Can't beat that. Dave, I owe you half a shandy. And I'll have to be at another venue, though. Unless you've got your own lemonade on you. You don't look like a man who carries a lot of lemonade around. And so, so this is, Duke were beaten in the semi-final by Celtic, but this was seen as a massive game, you know, sort of in terms of, and also of course sport was important for the building of like what was seen as the prestige of communism. And there's a massive stadium up on the hill, Strahov Stadium, which is a really beast, and here's some pictures of it, where they used to do these massive Spartacadia. I think they started in 1955, big gymnastic displays. Now, this stadium is the size of 9 football pitches. So you fit 9 football pitches in. So you see the difference. This is a normal football ground, I think where Slavoj Vyšehrad are currently playing. This is this stadium. So you can see the difference in scale. You know, and just wanted to, there it is. Absolute beast. Well worth a journey if ever in Prague. Go up the hill. You can also see the Petrin Tower, which looks like the Eiffel Tower, and go and have a look at this beast. It's not in use anymore. But after the Velvet Revolution of 1989, when communism collapsed, the Rolling Stones were the first band to play there in 1990, in front of about 120,000 people. AC/DC then played subsequently, Soundgarden. Rolling Stones played again in 95. Pink Floyd were there in 1994. Okay, yeah, this is also this amazing pinnacle just outside, which is well worth, there it is, some of my own photos. Yeah, you see that's a massive, it's a massive end, isn't it? You know, it's a whole end anyway. And also some lovely curvature, you know, for those who are into football architecture and aesthetics, some beautiful curvature on this particular stadium. And I just want to on the theme of communism. Just on the theme of communism. Of course, there was a massive Stalin monument, which used to where those pictures I put on earlier, where all the football grounds started off. Do you remember Letna? And I said over all next to each other, Slavia, Sparta, etc. There was a massive Stalin monument unveiled there in 1955. And when I say massive, imagine it's as big as the penny bank. Right? This is Stalin. So you're walking down Manningham Road after a game and you're just staring straight at Stalin. You know, it's that sort of size. There he is. And this was in Prague at Letna, near where Sparta Prague currently play. And Slavia, actually, one of the reasons Slavia had to relocate to Prague 10 was because of building this statue. One of the reasons. There are also other reasons to do with kind of politics of Slavia was seen as a bit more of a middle-class club, as opposed to, and so we wanted to send Slavia as punishment to a working-class district of Prague, the communist regime in the 40s and 50s. And there it is, but it got blown up because, of course, Stalin died in 53, it was unveiled in 55, either good timing or bad timing, but the politics of the Soviet Union was changing very rapidly with de-Stalinisation, Khrushchev, etc., etc. And so, there it goes. And so they went, and now in its place there's a metronome. If you've ever been to Prague recently, you'll see this metronome up on the hill at Letna. Yeah, now this is interesting because this is Bohemians. Now, because of a flux in the political situation in Czechoslovakia, well, for its high history, if you like, that Bohemians went through, like other clubs, like Sparta Prague at one point was called Spartak Prague. So it's easy to do, you just put a K on, so it's easy. You know, Bohemians went through lots of change. At one point in their history in the 50s, Bohemians were called Sparta Praha Stalingrad. It's a far cry from Bohemians, you know, and this is what they were called. They were played, same shirts, green and white, as Sparta Praha Stalingrad. Because of course, Bohemianism didn't fit so well. It was probably seen as a kind of, you know, some kind of deviation from a kind of communist ideology. And so, of course, Bohemian fans famously sing to the tune of Roll Out the Barrel, We Are Smoking Grass. And I think it goes like kožit is the verb to smoke in Czech, kožíme is we smoke, and then trava is grass, and travu, if you put it in case, so it's like kožíme travu. It's sort of Roll Out the Barrel, you know. And anyway, this is Bohemians' name changes over history, which is typical of a lot of Czech clubs. They started off being called AFK Vršovice, which is the region of Prague that they're in. And the reason they changed the name is because of that tour to Australia. Because people said, who's going to be able to pronounce that? Vršovice. It's not so straightforward because it's VRS, people go, well, who are these guys? Vršovice. So they changed the name to Bohemians. and the rest is history. And so they became AFK Bohemians from 1927 when they went to Australia. Then they changed the name. Notice a subtle change to AFK Bohemia when the Nazis were occupying the Czechoslovakia. Then back to Bohemians, then to the railway men of Prague. 1948 to 52, communist times, often clubs wanted to be, were told to, become attached to industries, Then Spartak Prague, Stalingrad, and then this is actually, this is a company that makes all the wonderful Prague trams, the Tatra trams, which everyone's into Prague. They see absolutely wonderful. You've got Tatra 1, Tatra 2, Tatra 3, so and so on and so forth. Actually, just on a quick aside, I know times of the essence and essence of the time, but some famous Czech inventions, the lightning rod, Semtex.
Not two things you want to put together.
This is actually a robot. If you check, the first time the word robot was used was in a Czech play, 1920, by Karl Čapek, who used the word. This is some cubist architecture in Prague, about 1910, circa 1910. There's me with R2D2 in a slightly a face mask. I've got my eyes shut because I'm using the force. This is a guy, lightning rod. He was actually competing to invent the lightning rod with Benjamin Franklin, the founder of America, if you like. If we move a little further on, we get the snowmobile.
It's just been announced as 7 minutes of extra time. 7 minutes of extra time.
Oh, is he all right with that though? This is a drying out place, apparently Czech Republic. First place to have places where if you're hammered, you can just go and lie in bed somewhere. This is so. Here's Benjamin. This is a guy who's competing for inventing the lightning rod. This is Benjamin Franklin. This is a lightning rod of the other guy. We've got a bit further on. Oh, there's more robots. There's the other guy who's yeah. So looks uncannily like Benjamin Franklin actually. But this is Doc Brown from Back to the Future. Okay, so we've got 7 minutes extra time, so I'll just have a quick look. Václav Havel I won't talk about, he was big friends with Frank Zappa and Lou Reed at the time of the Velvet Revolution. We've had the defenestration of Prague, we've had the Bohemians, we've had the loads and loads of other stuff. What we've not had is the King of Comedy. The King of Comedy, Vlasta Burian, used to play for Sparta Prague in goal in the 1920s, and he's widely known as the King of Comedy. I mean, you used to think, I know we all thought it was AJ Gill, but it's not Alan James Gill, it's actually Vlasta Burian is the King of Comedy. You have to remember this. And there he is, he was in goal for, and I think what I'll do is I'll finish then, because obviously time, we've got a 5 minute stoppage time, balls bouncing around. Anyone got a ball on them?
You've got about 5 minutes.
I've got 5 minutes, yeah, also, I mean, this is Vlasta Burian's grave, you see the hands as a goalkeeper. This is in Vyšehrad. He's buried near to Dvořák, the composer. But there he is, that's Alan Gill. He used to work here, composing as Vlasta Burian. And there he is again, that's Alan Gill, King of Comedy. And there he is again, King of Comedy. And it's sad he's not here today, but he would love to have been here, but he's at the Beckton ski slope. There he is. Okay, there he is, because he also became a referee. So he was in about 30, 40 films, famous sort of Czech films, also became a referee. Okay, so I'm going to finish then maybe with some more recent things. While I was there during the lockdown recently, of course, all the football stadiums were closed, like everywhere else, and so on and so forth. But fans of Bohemians, actually, there they are. So they're taking the ladders to the game. So what you was a curious sight in Vršovice, where Bohemians are based, of loads of people walking down the street with ladders. I'm thinking, what's going on? I mean, there's a real painted and decorated revival or something. You know what I mean? So but I felt like walking around with a can of paint just to see what see if I could get a job. And anyway, there they all are. You see. Yeah, there they are. There they are. There they are. There they are. Oh, there's Keith. So as you see, we prepared this incredibly well. And there's Keith up the ladder. Have got you? Oh no, that's not Keith. And that's about it. Oh, there they are. Oh, also, here, yeah, this something that turned up one of these big. to have a proper Mrs. Director's box. So, no, it's a 1911 club, so. And, I went past one morning, I saw this slouchy ladder, and I thought, oh, well, really, there's one ladder there. He obviously threw us a game the night before. And I thought to myself, oh, there's Alan J. Oh, that's the king of comedy. There's AJ Gill. There we go. Don't say we're not an inclusive place. Go back to the one ladder, slouchy ladder. Yeah, I was walking past in the morning, and I thought, there's one ladder there. And I can imagine, so we took the ladder to the game, was watching the game, got so outraged with the result that he stormed off and left the ladder. This is the only way I can explain this one ladder, which is still there, you know, so. And I think I better leave it there because we're running again into drinking time. So, but thank you very much, it's an absolute pleasure, and have a really great day.
Well, there we go. Brilliant, Paul, thank you. As ever, we'll probably have a return, won't we? Paul, they'll probably get locked down in some Central European country for another 2 years, and we'll have another disaster. But thank you very much. Entertaining as always, Paul.
And to Margaret.
And to Margaret, sorry, Margaret, who didn't take much part today. We're back again on the 19th of November with Chris Stride from Sheffield University, right where we did sporting statues. It's coming back to talk about why do adults wear replica shirts? Why has it become a fashion item? So we're really looking forward to that. Chris Stride, 19th of November, up to you all then. Thank you.
Roll out the barrel, we'll have a barrel of fun. Roll out the barrel, we've got the blues on.